Ashton Kutcher breaks his silence. What really happens to Brittany Murphy? Y'all, if someone told you 5 years ago that Ashton Kutcher, yes, goofy, charming prank Louvain Ashton, would be tangled up in one of Hollywood's darkest scandals, you'd probably laugh them right out of the room. But fast forward to now, the joke's over. Dead serious. Because Ashton's name just got thrown right into the pit of a disturbing web involving none other than Diddy and the mysterious, still haunting death of Brittany Murphy. And baby, when we say it's messy, we mean biblical level of mess. Let's rewind the clock. Brittany Murphy, she wasn't just any actress. She was a shooting star, quirky, magical, unforgettable. From Clueless to 8 Mile, she owned every screen she touched. But behind that sparkle was a terrified woman screaming for help, and nobody listened. And now, people are starting to believe that what took her down wasn't natural at all. Because back in 2009, Brittany was found collapsed in her bathroom. Her final moments were tragic, rushed to the hospital, and pronounced gone just hours later. The official cause? Pneumonia. But even then, nobody who loved her believed that for a second. And then, 5 months later, her husband Simon Monjack died in the same house of the same cause, pneumonia and anemia. What kind of twisted script is that? 2 adults, both young, both supposedly healthy, gone, same cause, same house, same eerie silence from those around them. Baby, you don't need to be a conspiracy theorist to feel like something ain't right here. Because even the most skeptical people started side-eyeing the entire situation. But here's where the darkness gets thicker. Brittany, in her final months, was paranoid as hell. She told her closest friends she was being watched, that someone was poisoning her, that she didn't feel safe anywhere. She swapped her locks for fingerprint scanners, avoided food from random places, and told her friends straight up, "They're after me." Nobody listened until it was too late. And when her dad, years later, hired a private toxicologist to test her remains, baby, it came back with levels of heavy metals in her hair, arsenic-level toxins, rat poison chemicals. This wasn't a case of bad luck. This was something way more sinister. And guess whose name started creeping into the whispers? Diddy. Yeah, Diddy, the man currently under fire for trafficking, abuse, blackmail, and possibly worse. And who was one of his longtime party buddies from the early 2000s? None other than Ashton Kutcher. Yes, the Ashton we all thought was harmless and lovable. Turns out, Ashton and Diddy were real tight during those wild Hollywood years. From prank shows to private parties, football nights, to those freak-off gatherings everyone's now whispering about, Ashton was in the mix, smack in the inner circle. So now, with Diddy's empire crumbling, the feds allegedly digging deep, and accusations flying faster than ever, Ashton's name has resurfaced like a ghost from the grave. Because the question being asked in all corners of the internet is this: did Brittany see something she wasn't supposed to? Did she get too close to the truth? Maybe even too close to Diddy's infamous no cameras allowed parties? Because the rumors, they're explosive. People say Brittany was either told something or witnessed something so disturbing that it marked her for elimination. And the fact that Ashton dated her before she married Simon only deepens the rabbit hole. And get this, not long after Ashton and Brittany ended things, suspiciously fast, mind you, he went public with Diddy Moore, who, surprise, surprise, is also rumored to have attended Diddy's exclusive events. Now hold on, cause here's where it gets wild. People are whispering that Ashton has been talking to federal investigators. Yep, and not just talking, cooperating. Allegedly, he may have evidence, texts, videos, recordings that could link Diddy straight to the events that led to Brittany's tragic death. If this turns out to be true, Hollywood better brace itself. Because this isn't just tea, honey, this is an avalanche of dirty secrets. Let's talk about how hard the world tried to erase what happened to Brittany. Her death was barely investigated, no media storm, no ongoing questions, just brushed under the rug. And why? Well, let's take a look at who was pushing that narrative. Brittany's mom, Sharon Murphy, and her husband, Simon. Both insisted it was just pneumonia, maybe anemia. They downplayed every red flag. When people raised questions about mold in the house or her obvious fear of being poisoned, they shut it down fast. And here's where it gets bone-chilling. Sharon stayed in that house after Brittany died. Lived with Simon, and when he died the exact same way, Sharon packed up, sold the house, and vanished. Never demanded a reinvestigation, never pushed for answers. It's giving cover-up vibes. But not everyone forgot. Brittany's dad, he fought. He hired labs. He pushed for tests. And what he found? Mind-blowing, toxic, lethal levels of barium, antimony, stuff found in bug sprays and rodent poison. This wasn't a cold. This wasn't flu season. This was deliberate. Now let's bring it full circle to the people with power. Because every path, every whisper, every receipt starts to lead back to those infamous Hollywood parties. And the name at the core? Diddy. As new survivors come forward, painting the same disturbing picture of abuse, manipulation, exploitation, and silence, we now know Brittany was likely blacklisted for refusing to play the game. She didn't want to go to those parties. She wanted no part of the power games. And that decision may have cost her life. And who was on the guest lists of those parties? Ashton Kutcher. Big names. Brittany wasn't just iced out of roles. She was isolated, and the industry went quiet on her. And she knew it. Some people even claimed she had recordings, evidence, stuff she maybe didn't even realize was dangerous, but it was enough to make her a threat. And now, Ashton, who kept quiet for years, may finally be ready to talk. There's talk behind the scenes that Ashton started pulling away from Diddy long before the media caught on, that he saw something, heard something, maybe even learned things about Brittany's death, or Kim Porter's death. Yes, that other tragic case that eerily mirrors Brittany's. Kim Porter, young, vibrant, connected to Diddy, found dead. Cause of death? Pneumonia. No autopsy released for months. And word on the street, Kim was working on a tell-all book, gathering receipts, gathering names, and then, just like that, gone. Sound familiar? Even Diddy's former bodyguards are now hinting that Kim had dirt that could have blown the roof off the industry. But the moment she became a threat, she became silent, just like Brittany. And that's why everyone's siding Ashton now. Not because he was just friends with Diddy. He treated her like a male jack. But because he may have had a front row seat to the madness. And now, he might be sitting on the truth. We're talking about NDAs, secret tapes, hidden hard drives. Things that could change the entire narrative of what happened to these women. And Ashton, he could hold the key to all of it. And baby, if he talks, the explosion will be felt from Hollywood to Ashton Kutcher's silence is breaking, and it might bury Diddy. Let's get something straight. Ashton Kutcher isn't some random side character in this story. He was Brittany's ex, possibly even her fiancé. They were spotted wearing matching rings before their split, and that breakup? Messy, sudden, too clean, too perfect. The kind of breakup that doesn't just happen unless someone made it happen. And then, boom, Ashton shows up with Demi Moore, stepping into a different world, a darker one, with Diddy right there in the background. See the pattern? And now, years later, Ashton is no longer acting like that carefree prankster. His vibe has changed. There's weight on his face, a silence that feels loaded. And insiders are whispering that Ashton has finally realized, maybe too late, how close Brittany really was to something huge. So why now? Why would Ashton start talking after years of staying quiet? Simple. Because Diddy's entire empire is crumbling. The feds are closing in, lawsuits are stacking up, high-profile friends are distancing themselves. The silence in Hollywood is starting to crack. And Ashton, he's being looked at not as a participant, but as a potential witness, maybe even a whistleblower. Reports suggest Ashton has kept his distance from Diddy for years. Why? Maybe guilt, maybe fear, maybe both. But now that it's all unraveling, people are asking, what does Ashton know, and why didn't he say anything sooner? Because if Brittany was silenced and Kim Porter was silenced, then this goes way beyond one tragic death. This is a pattern, a system, a cover-up. Remember, both women died of pneumonia. Both were surrounded by paranoia before their deaths. Both were connected to Diddy. Both had reportedly been gathering sensitive, damaging information, and both are now gone. Hollywood can't explain that away anymore. Not with the lawsuits piling up, not with names being named, and not with Ashton Kutcher's name suddenly re-entering the conversation. Y'all, this could be bigger than Harvey Weinstein. Bigger than anything we've seen in Tinseltown before. Because this time, it's not just about one predator. It's about an entire network of power, control, and silencing women who try to speak up. Brittany Murphy's story always felt off, but now we're starting to see the pieces. The fear in her voice, the change in her behavior, the desperation in her eyes. She knew something. She tried to get help, and the world failed her. But Ashton? he was right there. And if he finally speaks up, it won't just give Brittany justice, it'll expose how deep the rot goes in Hollywood. The same rot that let predators thrive, that let shady parties happen behind closed doors, that protected monsters while ignoring the voices of women like Brittany, Kim, Cassie, and countless others who tried to fight back. And, it was wild, Hollywood needs Ashton to speak. The public is hungry for truth, and if Ashton can give them what they need, he becomes a hero. But if he stays silent, he'll forever be seen as part of the system that let all of this happen. No matter what happens, one thing is clear: Brittany Murphy was not crazy. She wasn't paranoid, she wasn't sick, she was scared, and she had every reason to be. And the people who loved her, including Ashton, owe it to her to finally bring her truth into the light. Because this story, it's no longer just about Hollywood, it's about power, corruption, silence.